This is Coda Radio, episode 213 for July 11th, 2016. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Coda Radio, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show taking a pragmatic look at the art and business of software development and related technologies. This episode is brought to you by our two fine sponsors, DigitalOcean and Linux Academy. I'll tell you more about those great sponsors as this here show goes on. My name is Chris, and joining us every single week, like a man on a mission, or perhaps a bat out of hell, why yes, it's Mr. Michael Dominic. Hello, Mike!
I choose you, Chris Fisher.
Thank you. I feel honored and privileged. It's good to be back in the hot seat with you, Mr. Dominic.
Oh, God, no.
I missed you. I missed you last week. I was able to catch last week's episode, though, so I heard about the shenanigans with the dead on arrival Dell and the snap purchase of a System 76 Lemur. So I'm up to speed. I'm impressed, Mr. Dominic, with your fancy footwork there. I also was impressed with Noah for stepping in. Just a huge thank you to Noah for doing that, because not only did he just host the show, but he also had to recreate the Coda Radio broadcast profile over in Grand Forks, North Dakota, which takes forever. And, he really does it because I think he's a big picture guy. Not because he just loves microphone time, but because he's a big picture guy and he knows that when you work really hard on something, if you don't take time off from time to time, you can burn out. And so he's always been like, Chris, take some time off. I'll fill in. I finally took him up on it. So a big thank you goes out to Noah for sitting in. I don't even think he wore his Google Glass during that episode. Can you believe that?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was just trying to make sure that that System 76 did not get canceled.
Yeah. So, I think, so if I grokked, you took advantage of the sale that was going on, so the Dell arrived, totally just DOA. You sent the ATI card never even came up because it didn't even work. You sent it back in a flash. You ordered the Lemur, but because of the 4th of July and all of that, there's shipping delays. Have you even received it yet?
So I have not received it. So I did get some clarification from them after that because Noah gave me the name of someone to reach out to. I just, I will say their ordering process is a little confusing. You order it and it's like 3-day shipping or 2-day shipping. They don't tell you it's 6 to 10 days to actually build the machine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's where the disconnect came in.
Now, as a good old boy, though, you'll probably appreciate the fact that the part of that delay is them assembling it here right in the US of A. Not to do a spot here, because they don't pay for any advertising space here on the show, but you do have to kind of appreciate that to some degree.
I do.
Yeah. So it means I have to wait probably another week before I get an update on your adventures.
Yeah, so I did get an update this morning, actually.
Oh.
So completely shipped is what it says. I think they gave me a UPS tracking.
So not half shipped.
Which is good. I mean,
Just the screen.
It's a tower, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. You got the Ratel.
Here's a case.
Yeah, you got the Ratel. Good call, right? It wasn't the Lemur. It was the Ratel, wasn't it?
It was the Ratel, yeah. The Ratel
yeah, that's right. Good call. That is the machine I would order too. If I wasn't going for like the crazy high-end expandability performance. So, I wanted to warm up today. Since I've been gone for a week, I needed a warm-up topic with you, and I thought we should blend two of our passions, and that would be programming and beer. No. That's something else. That's our other podcast that we've been talking about doing. Don't get them confused. We don't want to mess up the demos. So this startup is selling brew that was brewed via AI. Now, it's a catchy headline, and it really, if you read it, is a sheep's in wolf clothing, or what is that? Wolf in sheep's clothing, because it's IBM hucking and shucking Watson. And so they go do these big, recognizable things, and then they slip Watson into the story. But it actually is legitimately an automated brewing intelligence system that takes feedback from consumers of the 4 different bottled beers that are being sold by this brewing thing over Facebook Messenger bot, by the way. And we got 4 beers here, Mike. We got the golden AI, the amber AI, the pale AI, and the black AI. And they legitimately are taking input back from these that are being sold in the market and then adjusting the brew for future releases. where are all our jobs going, Mike? Your thoughts? Is there nothing left? Is there no safe space? Brewing beer, Mike. Brewing beer. And you know what? I'd be interested to try it. I'd give it a sip, see how it goes. I mean, one thing I don't
understand is, okay, so they're AI brewed, right? So presumably, does the AI pick ingredients at random, or how does it? Did you?
No. So that piece right there doesn't really give you much detail, but they do have a site at intelligentx.ai, of course, and you could try. Hey, you know what? I'm going to sign up. Look at that right there. I'm going to sign up for their Beer AI newsletter. Boom, just signed up. I'm going to get an email to confirm that. They got a video on their site about it too, so that's got to be good. Oh yeah, look at them messing. That's human hands, not robot hands, messing with Bud.
We've come together to create Intelligent X, which is the world's first beer that's been brewed by artificial intelligence.
AI is about making decisions, and when you're brewing beer, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. At Intelligent X, we take all the choices, the ingredients, the methods, and so on, and put that in a data structure that the AI understands.
The guy shot some
We
code.
can't make millions of beers, so we start by working closely with the brewer to encode their intuition into our algorithm. That gives us a great place to start from. And once our beer's out in the world, our AI, Abby, can have a conversation with all our customers, and that gives us the feedback that allows our beer to evolve.
So Abby, their beer brewing AI, is chatting with their customers over Facebook Messenger. So they have a Facebook Messenger bot that interfaces with their brewing system and takes their feedback and then adjusts the brew in real time. So it's kind of legit, but I think if you dig beneath the surface, it's in a super limited run.
Right. Right. That I really am disappointed they didn't have the balls to come out with Skynet Ale.
That'd be good.
Like, if you're going to do it, if you're going to go for it, go for it. I wonder why Facebook Messenger or not some other AI platform. Well, because everybody's on Facebook, I guess.
Yeah, I think also because it was part of it's part promotion with Watson, it's part promotion with Facebook Messenger and their bot platform.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not saying that, but that's the smell I'm getting from this piece. Because here's the reality: it doesn't take just. Okay, how do I? If you've never brewed beer before, there is a process you go through where the beer just sits and it's not beer yet, and yeast has to do its thing, and that just takes time. And if you rush that, you make really bad beer, Budweiser. And so this whole concept of immediately adjusting the beer brewing process based on user feedback, it makes it sound like the next bottle you go to the store to get is going to have your improvements, which is just not practical or possible.
Well, I have one of those beer brewing kits I got in June as a gift. It's like you got to do it and leave it for 4 weeks.
Yeah. That's a good. Yeah, it depends on the beer, of course, and there's ways to speed that up. But yeah, if you want a good, nice beer that's naturally fizzy, but not too fizzy and all that kind of stuff, you have to just let it go through its process. Yeah. Okay, so now let's get into something that. Two things, actually. I want to bump something up in the show notes right to this moment because you dropped in here this story that I've been reading a ton about while I was on the road. Anytime I got like a minute, I'd stop and just sort of read the headlines and see what the hell's going on while I was on vacay. And this story, the new Nexus 2016 phone, Sailfish and Marlin, and a lot of stories here, a lot of speculation about this. And I don't have a lot to say here, so I thought maybe we just address it here at the top of the show. But they're saying like lots of places are reporting this. This particular one we're linking to Android Police, 8 out of 10 on the confidence level. They say it's going to have a G logo on the back. It's going to be built by HTC. They have processor specs. They have memory specs. They say aluminum body. Your thoughts, Mr. Dominic, on the new 2016 Nexus phone that would probably be timed with a nougat release, I would think?
I mean, it makes sense. There's a Nexus every year. My question would be why HTC? Because they're not exactly blumming it up.
They do make great products, though. Like the HTC One series of phones are great.
You know, it's funny because a couple months ago we were hearing that Google was going to manufacture their own phone. Right?
Yeah, right.
And this seems, I mean, maybe it seems like it because it is, the normal Nexus deal of you build a phone for us with our branding.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a reference device. Is this device in lieu of the one they were going to manufacture?
I wouldn't think they'd want to release 2 Nexus branded phones in the same year.
In the same year, right.
What if those rumors were wrong about the phone? What if they were wrong about the phone, but they were right about the watch? Because the other story from Android Police here is that Google is building 2 different Android Wear smartwatches. Again, 2 different devices. One would be like sort of the higher end device with LTE, GPS, heart rate monitor. The other would be sort of the same, but maybe smaller. It might not have mobile data, LTE built in, wouldn't have GPS. But they both would have the new Google Home Assistant that was demoed at Google I/O. So it's not just your regular Android Wear watch, but this is a Nexus Android Wear watch, round, no flat tire, with Google Assistant built in. Maybe this is the custom Nexus-like device that the rumors were talking about.
Yeah, I don't understand why they would do that, though, right? Why would they build their own watch? Because it seems like Fossil and Huawei are doing a great job. So is Moto, right, building Android watches. They're not selling well, but...
Maybe they think they're not selling well because they haven't been built right. Although, I don't know.
That's a tough position to take. I mean, I have the Fossil Q over here, and I have the old first generation Moto 360.
Yeah.
And I think it's certainly better than the Apple Watch, which is their nearest competitor.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is too. Having used both of them now for an extended period of time, I'm now on the Android Wear watch full time. And the battery life isn't as good as the Apple Watch for the Hawaii watch. Right. But round display, which is crisp, no flat tire. It's low profile. It has a heart rate sensor in it. It's not waterproof or anything like that, but it's a nice device to manage my notifications. And I'll just, like I've mentioned briefly before, for me, wearables are kind of they're kind of a unique use case for each individual. So for myself, I like my wearable to triage my notifications. I have turned off notifications everywhere else, and I have them only go to my watch. And then when I take my watch off, like right now, I don't get any notifications anywhere, theoretically. Now, that's a constant tweaking process. I also really like the Fit stuff. I like Google Fit, and I like sleep tracking. So those are the basic 3 work cases for me, use cases, to have an Android Wear watch. And that doesn't justify $4, $5, $6, $10,000 like the Apple Watch. When I can go get a Hawaii watch from Newegg for $150 when it's on sale. You just can't beat that.
You can't beat the price, right.
So I could see them doing this, though, to try to see if they tested the market, if they could get sales out there. The thing about Android Wear is it doesn't suffer like Android does in the marketplace where the OEMs control the updates. I have had some issues with my LG Watch R where I didn't get an update for a long, long time that should have turned on the Wi-Fi chip in the Watch R. So there have been some issues, but it's not as bad as it is in the phone market.
It's strange, from a development perspective. The Android Wear API, the Android Wear development tools are significantly more open and, in my opinion, better, just in kind of a broad giving the access to things sort of way. But, let's not lose sight that all wearables are not selling, period, right? But Apple is selling better than Google.
Well, and the fitness ones seem like
sure, the Fitbits, right?
Fitbits yeah. Those seem to be pretty interesting. But the reason why I don't talk about those ones that much on the show, and I think for the same reason you probably don't, is...
they're not platforms.
No, yeah, we care about what listeners of our show could potentially target applications for, and those don't really fit the bill there. And, maybe this conversation will change significantly once the new watchOS hits everybody's arms. Is that how you say that? Is that the terminology when it hits your arm? Hits your wrist? Hits your wrist.
I guess hits your wrist?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure.
I'm not sure which way it's going to go, right? I mean, I was really hoping they'd manufacture their own device, but it more and more looks like that's not going to be true.
Man, it is. Mr. Dominic, it is good to be back here with you because some of these stories I've been watching this week, I've been waiting with bated breath to come here and discuss these with you. We have.
Did you wait for me? I didn't wait for you.
No, you didn't, did you?
His name was Noah. He was luxurious.
Yeah, he was amazing.
He told me that there was a way to have an open connection.
I go for 1 week. I leave for 1 week. I know. I think there's this Ryan guy showing up on the Linux Action Show this Sunday with some Mycroft project about artificial intelligence. I mean, I don't even know what's going on.
he tweeted me, and he's going to come on here too.
Yeah, it's very sneaky, isn't he?
All these guys. I mean, you're gone for 1 week.
I know. I see how it is. That's cool. That's cool. I don't mind. I can stand up to the competition.
You can stand up to the competition because I have a strapping young man bringing me a cup of tea right now.
What?
Get out of here. I don't believe you.
You know, Mr. Dominic, you know what else? That sounded like an ice cube. That didn't sound like tea to me.
It's tea, and in fact, he's flexing his guns at me right now.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
I'll take a picture, put it on the live stream.
Get it out of here.
Okay. You know what else stands up to the competition? That would be DigitalOcean. Head over to DigitalOcean.com and use the promo code CoderDigital and get yourself a $10 credit and spin up a rig for free. You can get their $5 rig, try it out 2 months for free, but you know what, to be honest with you, DigitalOcean's pricing is really hourly. We talk about it in a monthly sense, but hourly is where it's at because you can go try out one of their big rigs for just a little while, run your experiment, shut it down, build something, see if it works, put it in production. The pricing is straightforward. You can upgrade capacity as they go. They're rolling out block storage betas, which is totally awesome. They have an incredible community, and they have data centers in New York, San Francisco, Singapore, Amsterdam, London, Toronto, Germany, and even India. Can you believe I have that whole list memorized? That is really impressive. And they have the best UI to get up and running. You can start in less than 55 seconds, and pricing plans, man, they are straightforward and reasonable. So the base is $5. The base is less than that crappy fast food you ate. It's less than that, or maybe you didn't eat it, but you know what I'm saying, right? That's incredible. $5 for a Linux rig on SSD drives, all SSDs. KVM virtualization, the best virtualizer in the business, 40 gigabit E connections. The data centers they've picked, they're not randomly picked. They're like laser scalpel picked. It's a serious setup. You combine that with the great documentation, the one-click deployment of entire application stacks, so you want to get a container up and going in no time. It's simple. They have FreeBSD, they have Debian, they have CentOS, they have Ubuntu, they have Fedora. They even have Core OS. And they work with those projects to get the updates from directly upstream. They're not custom spins with weird kernels. Go check them out. DigitalOcean.com and use the promo code CoderDigital. It's one word, and it'll give you a $10 credit. And a big thank you to DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean.com, promo code CoderDigital. Okay, so apparently I leave for a week, and Nintendo becomes an app business.
I just caught a Weedle during the DO app.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Yeah, they've made since they've launched this is unbelievable. They've made like $7 billion or something. No, I'm sorry. Their company valuation is up $70 billion. Their stock's going crazy. That's what it was. That makes way more sense anyways. So for those of you who maybe were on vacation like I was, it's an augmented VR game that's made by Nintendo and the people that made, what's that Google game where you go out in the real world on... what the hell was it? I know. I'm a dummy. I'm losing it. But so Nintendo partnered with the people like Ingress. Thank you, Rikai. And the people behind Ingress. And they came out and they've made this Pokemon VR or AR game. And it's going like gangbusters. Now, a lot of people are claiming it's nostalgia that's making people play it. But I don't think so. I couldn't give two craps about Pokemon, and I'm still tempted to install this thing and play it. I think they actually are on an interesting gameplay element here, and this is what we've been waiting for. We have been waiting for Nintendo to enter the mobile gaming market. We have been wondering where they are. We've been wondering why some of the great Nintendo platforms and IP have not come over to mobile. And so when they finally did it, they seem to have frickin' nailed it. And I thought the app boom was over, Mike.
Yeah, I was insane. Nintendo was like, all right, people say they can't make money, watch this. It's awesome. Since you've been talking about them, I have evolved my Kakuna into a Beedrill and my Pidgeotto into whatever his next bird-like form is. And do you know why? Because it's addicting as crap.
And it makes you get up and move around, which is nice.
I have walked more in the last 3 days than I think I have in the last 3 years.
Yeah. I think there is, I think maybe for another day, a bigger category topic is how apps and technology can be used in a way to gamify health. Because just now that I have a wearable and I have a streak of how many days I've been walking, I've been active for, like, it's minimal stuff. Walking for 30 minutes a day, like, that's not that big of a deal. But if I don't have, like, a little bit of a number to hit, a game reason, I don't tend to worry about it. But when I have a watch that says, hey man, you walk for another 15 minutes or you walk for another 5 minutes and you've once again met your goal for another day, I do it. And I think
works.
When you can make it fun like this, have you ever heard of that app called Zombie Run, which is where zombies are chasing you and you run. And that's another example of this. This, though, is a little simpler. It does touch on some cultural phenomenons that people are familiar with. So it is going like gangbusters as we record this episode. It's all over the Twitters, the mainstream medias. Pokemon Go's huge.
And you know what? I actually think they did a good job. They've had some server hiccups. You know, I can't imagine the level of challenge developing something like this is.
Geocaching. It reminds me of geocaching, too. Yeah, there's that. The data sets you'd have to have. And, this has not been flawless. Like, you've probably heard the stories of Pokemon being in the police office and Pokemon being in the grocery store. And
yeah.
You've probably heard those stories, yeah.
There's a couple funny ones, right? Making the churches all the Pokemon centers. Nintendo says get to church.
Yeah. So, do you think this is going to be a game changer for Nintendo?
I think they should repeat this success, that's for sure.
So they launched it on iOS and Android.
But they launched it in a really weird way. Right?
Oh, I didn't catch that. I was on the road.
Yeah, so it was on the Google Play Store, but not set, because you can, as a developer, set it to device compatibility. Set to compatible with no devices, so therefore no one can download it. So you could look at it. You could look at the screenshots and basically be tortured if you were really wanting it.
Oh, man.
And what happened is there were some... Well, of course, now that people know this game's available, and it was made available in New Zealand, which they haven't said anything publicly, but it does sound like there was like an Australia, New Zealand, server test for about 24 hours. Folks put APKs, because it's Android, right? Pirated APKs.
Yep. In a GoGo in the chat room says they're sideloading in the UK right now.
Yeah. The problem was many of those were actually malware infected.
Oh, no. Of course.
Yeah. So there's been a rash of people, predominantly, tech-savvy people who have higher-end devices, getting their Android phones infected with malware because they could not wait a day to get the Pokemon Go. I was one of them.
Yeah, really?
I did the sideline. I was like, shit, and I wiped the phone.
Yeah. Wow. I have not tried it myself, but I have felt a little bit of a temptation. I will admit to that. So the game is being played by an average. This is the other thing I think that really is kind of a big deal. 43 minutes a day. So people aren't just downloading this thing and closing it. They're spending more time in this than they are on WhatsApp or Instagram.
Oh, it is. I mean, Chris, I'm playing it right now.
It's in the United States, Australia, and New Zealand as we record this. It's going to be launching in Japan, which is a huge market for Nintendo soon. The game itself...
Weird that it didn't launch in Japan at the same time.
Yeah. Niantic, or Niantic, I think is the company that made Ingress. They're the ones behind it. So there's a revenue split here. There is a revenue.
They're a Google spin-out, right?
Yeah.
So they were Google people. Mm-hmm. And then got spun out into their own corporation, so...
And there is some expensive, in-game coins you can buy and things like that. So they're going to make some money on this, too. Well, good. You know what? Congratulations to Nintendo, really.
Hey, somebody's got to make money on the App Store.
And to tell you the truth, they're making some money, but the app itself is free, and I think that tells you something.
And you can totally play it for free too.
So before we get into one of the big topics of the week, I just want to get your prediction on the record. Do you think this is the beginning of Nintendo transforming to an app company? Do you think? No. Okay. I don't either. I think it's going to become part of their thing, but I don't think it's good. They're not good.
Well, yeah. I mean,
you know what I meant though by that is I meant sort of like how Apple is really an iPhone company. They still make Macs, but they're really an iPhone company.
Well, but remember, right? This game is made by a developer who they've contracted with at arm's length, and they're doing a revenue share, right?
Yeah, it's a toe in the water for them.
Internally being like, we're going to be on open platforms that we don't control.
Right. Here's the thing, though, Mike, is it does shatter their old argument they've now had for 6 years. The Nintendo experience depends on a unique collaboration of the hardware controller and the game creation. And if we don't create the controller for the game, we don't feel like we can make a great game. That's been their line now for 5-6 years. This proves that dead wrong.
Well, Nintendo traditionally has a bad case of the not invented here's. My question would be, does some Nintendo executives see the ridiculous amount of money they're going to make on this, or are already making on this, and say, okay, guys, we need to port our back catalog? I don't see it. Right?
I don't see it either. No, I mean, I would love it. I would love to go get the Mario series.
I don't think they would. Because the truth is, the worst part about their products, from a technology perspective, is they're underpowered and overpriced hardware. Right? Like, and frankly, you know, development-wise, they had a hard time getting into the high-def world. You can read about it. They had, like, technically a hard time doing it. I don't know if they're not like the what can happen if you're like Apple and it goes wrong. Because their big successes, as I have recent successes, have actually been few and far between, right?
And where they have had success really is like in the DS. They're more mobile stuff.
Yeah, but
Different kind of mobile.
not to the level of, like, you know, Halo, right? When you're talking the gaming industry,
right?
Sure, all success is relative, but come on.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be shocked if this game is their biggest revenue generator for the year.
You know, I specifically was looking for information on that, and I just think it's too early. I haven't seen anything on that, but yeah, me too. I agree. I because the overhead, once everybody has these apps installed, like the mad rush will end. It'll start slowly falling down the top downloaded charts. It's at the top right now, but they have a freaking cash machine built in there in the form of like these in-app purchases where it's just a money-making machine. You keep and some of the coins in there are over $100. You go, you know, some of the bags of coins and stuff you can buy are like $100-something in this game. Like we're talking real money in this thing, and some of them are way cheaper. This thing it's got a built-in ATM for Nintendo.
Yeah, but I think you're missing one vital point in that, you know, if you wanted to play a Pokemon game, right? Like, I'm of the age where, you know, Pokemon was something when I was a child. Uh-huh. I would never go out and buy a Nintendo DS or Game Boy or whatever it's called to do that at this juncture. But I have an iPhone. I have an Android phone. I would certainly download it. Because it's why not, right? You've made it a free download of something that's mildly nostalgic.
Yeah, and here's the logic, because I get caught up in it. The game's free. I'm loving the hell out of this game, and if I can buy something that makes me love this game even more and it's cheap, I'll buy it. I'll do the in-app purchase.
Yeah, and I mean, I've already bought the pack of coins. $5 only. Let's not be. I shame bought a pack of coins because, you know what? I walked, according to this, already 4 kilometers just playing this stupid game.
Oh, it keeps track of that for you.
Right, it keeps track of it.
Oh, very smart.
Yeah.
That's clever. Look at them. Look at them. Well, you know, Mr. Dominic, I may have to check it out. I don't know. I do like the idea of, I mean, I'm already going on walks. So if I'm already going on walks, why not make them a little more fun?
The only thing I will say is I live next to 2 public parks, or relatively close to them. And there's nothing creepier, or I'm very concerned that I'm going to have my phone out, be walking past the children's playground, and just feel a taser on the back of my neck. Right? Bye, sir. Yeah.
You know what I thought was creepy? And I didn't go there. What I went is something in the chat room said, whereas, you know, there's a certain amount of power you have here as a game developer, because say it's election day. Let's say the vote for the Brexit's happening, and now they have it. Like they have in the UK, and everybody's down. Or 2016 elections happening here in the US. And they decide one day to flip a switch and make sure a bunch of rare Pokemon are at voting centers to encourage the public to go out and vote. Now, that seems like a good thing, but the psychological manipulation that's happening there and the end result of getting people to come out and vote, well, very well could lead to Donald Trump getting elected.
Okay, but I mean, most places you would work at, right, will give you, you know.
No, I know. It's just the power. What I'm really saying is the power they have as a developer is to move people to certain locations. Churches, sure. Grocery stores, police offices. They have an interesting, that this particular game has an interesting influence over the public.
And I do wonder how much stronger is Google's data sets are becoming as I play this game.
Do you? So you think that they're getting Google's getting data?
I don't know, right? Because the company that Niantic, whatever their name is spun out from Google, but this is all built on the Google Map API.
Yeah. Oh, right. Of course it is.
That's what this game is.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. No, they say it is. In fact, it says Google on it somewhere in the marketing materials.
Yeah.
So I'm not wondering if they're, and why wouldn't they, right? You have all these people now on foot walking around, traversing these areas. Why wouldn't you now use that data to...
Yeah. Even if you're just getting flow data and stuff like that. I mean,
traffic flow, or, is there a lake where you didn't know there was a lake, right? Things like that.
Oh, man, the possibilities of that. I know we've talked about it before in terms of ingress, but just the idea of the kind of data that they could get back and improve their own service on.
Well, think about this. When you go to catch a Pokemon, it does the alternate reality thing. So you see you've seen the pictures, like it's like a Pidgey.
Yeah.
Why not analyze those pictures? Right? Use your machine learning technology to run analysis on the picture. Obviously, abstract out the Pokemon because you don't care about that, and just analyze the terrain and match it against what your Google Map system thinks it should be.
They could even potentially just do some of that locally and not have to send the entire image off-site. They could.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but to send it off-site, that's a lot of data and a lot of battery.
I mean, the game is not kind on your battery.
No, actually, you're right. I was reading an article about that. It's very aggressive with the battery. Oh, you know what? You're doing augmented reality Pokemon fetching and catching. I mean, come on. What do you expect?
It's not worth battery life.
I don't know anything about Pokemon, but it sounds interesting.
It's pretty good.
I think this is the beginning of a new genre. Don't you?
I think it is too. I could see a lot of games like this, and I could see a lot of like tie-in games like this, right? You have like a major console game.
Oh man.
And you have the AR tie-in.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could really extend the console game quite a bit. I bet we'll see that.
I bet we will.
All right. So speaking of large, old companies that make a lot of money.
How is Microsoft?
Actually, I was thinking of Oracle, but good one. I was thinking of Oracle. I caught a blog post you did. I think it was on the 8th.
I have no idea.
I can't remember now. And I want to pick your brain about it. And it does tie back into Oracle and their big plans for Java EE. And I want to pick Mike's brain about that and what looks like his potential replacement for Java EE and all of that. But first, I want to mention linuxacademy.com/coders. linuxacademy.com/coders is where you go to get our discount and learn more about Linux Academy, a platform for training you the skill sets you need to be better at your job, to get the clients you want, to just advance your skill set, to go deep dive into new technologies. They have labs and exercises that give you hands-on scenario-based instructions. They have instructor mentoring when you need it, learning paths with series of courses. They have assessments, note cards. In fact, all of this too, like when I mentioned this, it's like just scratching the surface. Because when you sign up, there is a dashboard where you get comprehensive study guides you get to download. The note cards can be forked and improved by the community. The practice exams and quizzes make you feel like you're actually ready for the real stuff. And the nuggets help you get advantage of Linux Academy when you don't have a lot of free time. So I can't really describe how awesome this platform is until you go over there and try it. So go to linuxacademy.com/coders. What I can tell you, though, is Linux Academy is a great place to go to learn a lot about the topics we talk about here on this show. See, the thing about Linux Academy is that it was created by real professionals, enthusiasts, educators, developers that wanted to come together and create the Linux Academy. They've been expanding and growing their staff, too, which you can find out more about on their About page. They're funded well, and they're doing the right thing, the smart thing, to make a system that not only has current and cutting-edge technology, but to make sure the older courseware continues to get renovated and updated and current. They have 7+ distributions you get to choose from. It automatically adjusts the courseware and the documentation, so as you follow along, everything's lined up with the distro you're expecting. The community is stacked full of Jupiter Broadcasting members, iOS and Android applications to help you out. They even have team support. Ryan on Linux Action Show on Sunday talked about how the Mycroft team uses Linux Academy Teams to train their entire group. That is really cool. And if you're an individual or if you're a team, there's something for you at linuxacademy.com/coders. Go there, just visiting that, so just browsing around, learning more about them. That lets them know you heard about it here. Supports the show. And then when you're ready to buy, you'll get our discount at linuxacademy.com/coders, linuxacademy.com/coders, and a big thank you to Linux Academy for sponsoring the Coder Radio program. So, Oracle has had to come out and make a public statement that it has not all but abandoned Java EE, because there are rumors and speculation that internally that Oracle halted the project. And so hey guys, don't worry.
Yeah, this has been getting out of control.
Yeah, the rumors of Java EE's demise are exaggerated. We got something real big for you planned soon. Stay tuned, everybody. And I look at this and I go, Java EE is in an interesting position right now because there is some contenders out there, some strapping young gentlemen called. I'm trying to look for the name right now. Cores, is that what it's called? C-O-R? Spring Boot. That's what it was. Spring Boot. And it's got a nice name, Spring Boot. It sounds like it's got a bounce in its step. It sounds like it's got flowers and sunshine, and it doesn't make me think about Oracle at all. I don't really understand what it is, Mr. Dominic, but I see a connection and a potential replacement of Java EE for some. Am I tracking? Help me understand.
You're tracking potentially. So Spring Boot is an offshoot of Java Spring, right? Which is like an enterprise-style software development platform, should we say?
I would say.
I would say that too. Now, I just want to backpedal a little. It's amazing how little faith the Java community has in Oracle.
Yeah, really.
Oracle did not say that anything bad was going to happen in Java EE, but to be honest, I bought the rumor. In fact, we talked about it last week on the show.
Oh, okay.
I totally bought it because it just seemed like something, though I thought it would be dumb of them, maybe they would, right? It's a lot of work to maintain something like Java EE. I mean, it's, for those who aren't familiar, it's an enterprise development framework that is you are in the most enterprise of enterprise land. You're arguably more enterprise than .NET guys, or about the same level. I don't like Java EE. Now, some of that's because I don't use it a lot. It's a little big, it's a little heavy, and I cannot stress how capitalized that E in enterprise is. Spring is an alternative to that, right? And the post that you're referring to that I wrote, it's just a quick tutorial about how to do cross-site scripting. So basically allow HTTP REST requests from one domain to your domain. The reason you might want to do this is you have one domain that serves the front end of your website and another domain that's some sort of web service, which is neither here nor there on the Java EE argument, because obviously it can do that too. But if you take a look at the Spring Boot code I threw up there, notice how nice and simple this is, and notice how much my website mangles my brackets. That's stupid. And
yeah, I did.
When will we all be saved from WordPress?
I know. I've been tempted to switch to Ghost, which is kind of tempting. You should look at it sometime.
Actually, there is a version of this post that you could have pulled from Buccaneer.io that's in Ghost.
Oh, yeah? Oh, really? Buccaneer.io is in Ghost? I didn't know that.
Buccaneer.io is Ghost, yeah. Listen, I try to use the open software standard.
Yeah, you've always said I'm all about the open sauce.
Open sauce. I'm going to charge you for it.
I'm going to make revenue out of it, but I'm all about that open sauce.
Here you go. So let's just quickly throw this in the chat, 'cause this has it less messed up.
Okay, yeah, good. I will swap out the show note versions for that one too.
What people generally complain about, and I want to be careful how I say this with Spring, EE, is how big and how enterprisey it is, right? So Spring Boot is an alternative to that. I think Spring is made by the Pivotal guys, if I'm not mistaken. It is a pretty straightforward web services framework for Java.
Takes an opinionated view of building production-ready Spring applications. Spring Boot favors convention over configuration and is designed to get you up and running as quickly as possible.
Sounds a lot like Rails, doesn't it, guys?
It does. Yes.
I'm not really, ready to die on the Spring Boot hill just yet. I still think Java Play is great. I still do a ton of Ruby on Rails because legacy. But it is interesting to see how many alternatives there are in some theoretical world if Oracle, did something so terrible.
Right. When you're thinking along these lines, you're curious what's out there.
Right.
That's good. Yeah.
You're an open source hippie.
I love open sauce.
Aren't you worried about? Maybe not worried, but shouldn't Oracle be concerned about how quickly their own developers and their own community believed the worst about them? Because this story, there weren't two sides. It was, yes, they're doing it, and yes, they're crazy.
Should they be? Yes. I think actually it does show you sort of it's a temperature. It's not an overall indicator, but it's one of it's not like the big sign, but it's one of many little signs that they should be paying attention to. Although based on the way they've communicated in the past to the security community, I doubt they really are thinking a lot about how they message to developers, to be honest with you, because they don't really work at that level. They work at the CTO, CIO, technical debt entrenchment level. They don't really work at the they don't really give a crap about recruiting new developers and evangelizing new developers. I don't get that sense.
See, I don't think any of like the new companies or new startups are being built with Java EE.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them aren't even being built with Java, period.
It's like that moment Microsoft must have looked around and gone, oh shit, all these new VPSs are all running Linux, they're not running Windows. We have a serious problem here.
Right, but Microsoft has responded and actually,
right.
They're not such a terrible choice.
No, they've gone with it, and Azure's doing well. My point remains, like, they took them a little longer, and because of that, you don't really see a lot of, you're not going up and spinning up a Linode or DigitalOcean Windows VPS. They waited too long, and I think they weren't getting the signals from the user base about what they wanted from a machine in that work capacity.
That's true. That's true.
And I think that's what you're picking up on Oracle for sure. And I think it's a leading indicator, but it's not the main indicator.
I think that's fair. I mean, Oracle's business is incredibly complicated. You're right, they do work at that CIO level. They're really not interested in what are the new things being built on our technology.
Which is so short-sighted because generations change, technologies change. My example, Linux VPSs, Windows is an enterprise OS. Microsoft worked at the enterprise level, but yet it was the individual BYOD guy and gal who created applications for businesses that just deployed it on an Ubuntu VPS, and that's what became the standard over time. It started at a very organic grassroots level, which is the level you're talking about right here. The people who are noticing, the people who are concerned that maybe they're killing a product and it's spreading like wildfire and everybody's believing it, those are the very people that they should be trying to market to say, hey, look what we're doing, look what we have here. They're just not geared for it.
See, the thing I struggle with on all this is I don't know of anybody who's running Java EE not for legacy reasons, right? Like I and maybe it's a self-selecting kind of bias, but I don't know of any new projects being started in Java EE. And I haven't for years. So I kind of wonder, is this... I mean, obviously, there's people who have, years of training, years of experience in it, and wouldn't want it to go away. But is it still super relevant outside of like legacy support? Now, I totally get most development is legacy maintenance, right?
I can't. No, I feel like I don't. My answer is I agree. I don't. I think I'm seeing the same thing you are. But I guess I would put that out to the audience too and say, what are you out there seeing? Because they could be our on the ground.
Right. Yeah. I think. Yeah. I would put it out there. Anybody listening, do you work in Java EE and why? I'd be really interested if you chose to do it, right? If you had a greenfield or a choice of a stack, and you said, we're going to go EE. Yeah.
CoderRadio at reddit.com or coderradio.reddit.com for the subreddit, or you can just email us by going to the contact page and choosing Coder Radio from the dropdown, and let us know your thoughts. Yeah, that is a good question though, because it does seem like it's lost a lot of momentum there. Do you want to talk? I know you probably mentioned it last week because I didn't catch the tail end of the show. I caught almost all of the show, though. What's going on with GitMask? I'm pretty sure there's been an update since the last time we talked.
Yeah, I didn't mention it last week, actually. This is just a minor quality of life update. So, fun fact, rewriting people's Git history in the main directory, when some people don't understand how the internals of Git work, turned out not to be a popular thing for me to do.
Okay.
So, fine.
Sure.
So now what it will do is it does two things. We have two major complaints about it, although, to be honest, sales are not awesome of this product, which makes sense, right? Because one fun fact, and I think this goes for anybody developing any kind of app, I thought my customer was developers. It turns out it's like shady people contracting out to developers or PMs or things like that, which kind of makes sense, given what it does. which if you didn't listen to a show a few weeks ago, what it does is it basically allows you to, through a nice simple GUI, rewrite commit messages to have one standard name and email address for the author and the committer. So that if you are contracting it out, your work out to a bunch of people, you can, prevent your client from going around you, basically.
And Bitbucket.
Well, because it works at the Git level, it automatically works for GitHub and Bitbucket.
Sure.
And GitLab, which somebody wrote.
That's what I was just going to ask, yeah.
So what happened, though, is because these people are now tending to be like business types and PMs, they do not understand that Git is just a bunch of files in a .git directory, and that what this app actually does is rewrite those files. So they didn't think to copy the directory. So can you imagine what happened there?
So they went ahead and applied the change, and they were totally surprised.
They were surprised that when it applied the change both on the public repo of their customer and on their repo.
Sure.
So what it does now is it creates a copy directory, which is your project name - mask, mask spelled like a mask, right? And that has the written changes. So that has the changes to the commit history. Now, feedback on this has been kind of double-edged. A lot of people, but again, these are pretty small numbers, seem to like it. Of course, some other people who figured out how to use the old version, like, well, why did you change this now? I was confused and I pushed the wrong history to the remote repo.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So the other thing I fixed was if you don't know that you can't do rewrite operations on a Git repo when you have pending changes, I have a helpful little thing that says you cannot do this until you commit, stash, or revert your changes. Because, this is really, I think, a great educational case of aiming a product at one group of people and having a totally different group of people reject it, and having a different group of people use it in a way that you perhaps did not intend it to be used.
Yeah, and so, of course, some of the small things of how things work have to be tweaked to their expectations and not to the other groups.
Well, it's something like that, right? They are so much less educated on like how Git internally works. And they are so very, very interested in like hiding the people working on their projects that if they do accidentally push up the wrong version of the repo, they don't necessarily know how to fix that.
That can be embarrassing.
So now, I'm not sure how I feel about this whole use case. Certainly it is.
I mean, it's a legit business practice, isn't it?
No, it's legit, right? I mean, and to be honest, I get why you would do it.
Yeah, from a branding standpoint, and all of that even.
Right. I just don't. I didn't intend for PMs to contract work out, ask for the repo, and then like open up source tree or something and try to pull the repo down and then run this and then try to deliver to their client via GitHub.
It's not working.
Which seems to be, well, no, it does work, but sometimes, again, because they don't get that. Like one interesting conversation I had with a customer was, what do you mean Git and GitHub are two different things? Like that was also a very scary conversation.
I wonder if that's not really the person you want buying this app. I wonder if that's a super common thing. That might be more common. That might be the more common use case.
I think it's more common. I think it's a lot more common. Another thing I'm finding is how common it is for people to use GitHub as their deployment to their customers.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me. Jeez. Yeah. Gosh, I mean, it disappoints, but it doesn't surprise.
All right, so it's almost like, wow, I maybe should have just wrote a GitHub client, and that would have been better. Yeah.
Well, so where do I go? So it's called Git Mask. Where do I go if I want to find it?
You would just, let me get you the link. I'm selling it through Gumroad still.
Yeah. So we'll have a link in the show notes, too.
I'll have a link in the show notes,
Yep. Yeah, I like that. I like that Gumroad. I like that. Hey, we got an email that came into the show here, Mr. Dominic. And let's see, did you happen to catch his name? Because I didn't. It came in from Fred. It says, love your show, love the rants about technology, and I want to get you started. I rewrite my PHP app. Yeah, you can start your rant here. Since I want to use a modern and standard application stack, I decided to have my backend still in PHP and my front end in AngularJS. So my question is about the PHP API. How should I set this up? Right now, I want to use PHP to create a JSON API using my old session cookie to track my sessions. Sounds a little old school, but okay. I thought that and then I Googled. Everybody tells me to use a RESTful API. I understand that, but here comes my question. Why should I not track my session with PHP session? I understand I should not store any information in the session because then the API is not RESTful. But why can I not use the session to save my authentication? How would you work here? JSON tokens? Are they not just the same as a session cookie? Looking forward to the wisdom of the great Jar Jar.
Well, Mr. gonna tell you, you're not getting rest.
Oh, man. So a PHP question, perfect for this show. Perfect for this show.
I'm exactly the guy to ask. All right, step 1.
Cut a hole in the box.
Sudo apt-get remove PHP.
No, come on. You know what the answer is? Yeah, it really is probably that.
Honestly, no, the answer is the reason people are telling you not to do that is because technically to really be RESTful, everything required for the quote state of your request must be included in the request itself. Meaning you cannot have the server store the session cookie. Right.
Clear.
So the way you would do that is if you're doing a session token, is that the client would send it in a header, or it could even send it as a parameter, really. But common practice is to send it as a header with every single request.
Or use Python, the chat room says, with Flask, or another framework altogether.
Right, but all those frameworks, that's what they do, right? I mean, Rails does it too. I mean, this is how they work.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to demonize you, Oliver, for this, but I'm going to say that, if you're going to do PHP, one of the risks with PHP is some of this legacy stuff that does exist, right? Mm-hmm. Let's, for the sake of argument, assume that you are correct that you need a RESTful API. Mm-hmm. Though sometimes REST is overused, but let's just say that's not the case here. Then if you're going to do it, you should do it correctly, right? And therefore, one of the reasons things like, in particular, and I am trying so hard not to bash PHP here.
You're doing really good.
Am I?
I'm impressed. I had scheduled 5 minutes of bashing here, so I just, yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I could talk about how they're slovenly and,
No, we do have another email to get to. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? John wants to know, the last one was Oliver. John wants to know, I just discovered Jupiter Broadcast and I'm enjoying Coda Radio and the other shows. I like Coda Radio in particular because it gives a developer's view of the news. As a guy who writes about FOSS at itfoss.com, plug, I like having a view on technology that goes beyond reporting a company's press release. Yeah, no kidding, right? I do have a question which I'd like you guys to cover. Which code hosting site do you prefer, GitHub or GitLab? He just discovered GitLab a couple of months ago. He says, I use Dropbox now. He likes the idea of being able to roll back changes with Git. Yeah. In previous shows, Chris talked about using website generators. I've been playing around with Hugo. I know it's been fun, and I plan to replace a couple of my WordPress sites with Hugo. So there you go. That is pretty good. He also says that Anagross isn't the only Arch game in town. He likes Manjaro. Thanks for the show, and keep up the good work. So what do you think?
Yeah, so listen to the back catalog, right?
Yeah, I guess we have covered that pretty GitHub versus GitLab.
Pretty well. I'm currently on Bitbucket because I'm using the whole Atlassian suite of tools, including Jira, right? But previously, I ran my own GitLab servers on DigitalOcean, which DigitalOcean, plug, has a really nice pre-configured GitLab setup instance thing. I like GitLab. I will say, though, if you listen to the back catalog, the reason I left GitHub the first time was their former pricing model being very unfriendly to people who have a lot of repos.
Right.
Now that their pricing model makes more sense, fun fact, they charge most people more money, but if you have a lot of developers or if you have few developers and a lot of repos, it works out better for you. I probably would never have left GitHub.
Oh, if this was the pricing
this is
change,
the way it was always, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe that's not true. Maybe I would have needed the more enterprise focus of Jira and things like that. But I do worry that GitHub is kind of taking over in a pretty dominant way.
Yeah.
Like when I talk to people, what do you use? The only people who seem to be using Bitbucket are companies where someone who just pays the bills made the decision, or other development shops who didn't want to get
a couple of like iOS workflows, pretty involve Bitbucket pretty heavily. I mean, there's a
but they see Bitbucket's always the second class citizen.
Yeah, it does feel like that.
Like even Slack had awesome GitHub integrations, and then a month later Bitbucket.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these like continuous integration things. Although to be fair, Atlassian's coming out with their own thing, almost like a what were those guys we covered? CodeShip.
Mm-hmm.
They have ties into both, right? And Atlassian's coming out with their own continuous delivery stuff. I forgot the name of it, but somebody could look it up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Decresting in the chat has a point. There is a level of vendor lock-in that I think exists with GitHub that the other two don't try to necessarily do. I mean,
they're not in a position to do it either.
Well, yeah, Bitbucket would love you to buy Jira and the other Atlassian products, right? But they understand that, not too many people are going to switch from Slack to HipChat. And that's the way it is, right? Mm-hmm. And then they don't try to force you into their flow. Where I do feel like GitHub is kind of, I don't know. I mean, philosophically to me, GitHub is also like the wild, wild west. Everybody is kind of their own free agent there, which I don't love. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, they are also, we didn't report on this, but they have been going through some changes too, right? And they've been trying to make a focus more on the enterprise and more focusing on businesses and, for lack of a better term, becoming more of a business tool than, everybody hosts your open source project here.
Yeah. That's that's a good little capper to if he is able to go back and check the back catalog on that, and it's probably in the titles too. Those particular episodes, you probably wouldn't have to look too hard. Sen writes in with just a little bit of final feedback here on the show. Speaking on the Java EE topic, he says, when you're browsing around on the web and looking for different stuff, I had no idea Java EE, even existed until I had a CS class where we had to use it. You don't see recommendations anywhere else. So I thought that was kind of an interesting point, depending on what you said. He says, by the way, Oracle dropping this is from last week when it was a possibility. That just makes zero sense. Unless they want to close it off and keep it for themselves somehow, which interesting, but doesn't look like that's what's happening. By the way, on the hardware front, he says he just picked up a fully spec'd out Entraware Apollo. I had to go through some hoops because they only ship in the UK, but it should arrive in 10 days. I plan to run Linux on it, obviously, leaning towards Fedora. I like Fedora because of a fast release cycle and still being stable. The laptop was recommended by Chris on the last review, so it's good to... You know what? I'll say this, by the way, Sen. Got the Apollo running Fedora 24, used it over the entire vacation. Love it. I got one update that caused it not to boot. So that was a little sucky. But so it doesn't boot right now. But if you just select the one older kernel release in the bootloader, it loads fine. So thankfully, Fedora just puts the previous entries in there. And I was able to get back up and running. And I was not in a position to troubleshoot it on my vacation. But the Apollo... I played some serious Minecraft on the vacation with my son, and it ran great with Fedora 24, although there was that one problem. But I think you'll love the Apollo. By the way, he says, I feel like front-end development is out of control these days. You need 10 different tools installed, 5 different JS frameworks, and 3 different JS package managers. Boy, that's true. Just to create a basic Angular app. Then you need to add 30-plus JS dependencies to NPM. Man, that's also true. And then there's like a 50% chance that some package will break tomorrow because you use a minor version update notation. Let's not forget that the fact that every single JS library turns out to have some breaking bug in it, which makes your life miserable. And what's with Angular 2? It's the worst thing. You either go and use beta software for a new project or stick with the old one, which will most definitely be deprecated in a few years. I feel like using any version of Angular at this moment is a mistake. Do you have any thoughts on this? That's bold. Any version of Angular, Mike, is a mistake.
Yeah, this is something that's been coming up because I use a lot of Ionic, which of course uses Angular.
Yep.
Ionic, to keep up with Angular, now has Ionic 2, which I am not using because I also think that Angular 2 is too much change too quickly. My understanding is that Angular 1 as a series, and I know that Ionic 1 as a series, is going to continue to be updated and supported for some time. One problem, again, listen to the back catalog a little bit, that we've covered. I think we have one called like JavaScript Hell in the title or something.
Something like that.
There is a general I won't say problem. There's a general thing that I don't like, and that I think a lot of people are starting to come around to my way of thinking, and that the front-end development frameworks are moving way too fast. And there's a risk that by the time if I have a significantly sized project and I pick, let's say, Angular 1, well, if I had a 2-year project, Angular 2 would have already been on the horizon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, I find that to be potentially risky. Because it implies to me that either Angular 1 was half-baked, which I really don't believe. I mean, there are performance things, maybe niceties that Angular 2 would provide that 1 doesn't. But I actually think Angular 1 at this point is fairly solid and absolutely production ready. But it certainly doesn't look good, right? When I'm going in and I'm pitching something, an entire version number down from,
Yeah, unless you're explaining it in the pitch, which is just extra work and leaves room for questions, and it's just not. It doesn't sound solid.
Doesn't sound solid. I mean, I don't know what the solution is, right? To be fair, Angular, like the newest hotness is React, right? Is React.js. And they've kind of killed it. When's the last time you heard about Ember?
Oh, good point.
When's the last time you heard about Backbone?
Jeez, I completely forgotten.
At first, Backbone was the one I liked, but when the market turned, I wasn't going to sell something that's not winning, right? I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that would be really, really dumb.
Yeah.
So there is a certain amount of culling happening, I think, in the front-end frameworks.
Uh-huh.
But now, instead of seeing, new JavaScript framework of the week, I think we're seeing like rapid iteration. Meteor.js, again, is of the same vein as a React.js, someone mentioned in the chat. But what I find interesting is actually how the hell did React, out of all of these, become the one that is kind of... In fact, I had a call with a woman from Rutgers University, which is New Jersey's state university. And she wanted to let me know that Rutgers is doing coding camps, and they're doing a certificate program to retrain people as developers. So it's weird. It's one of these coding boot camps, but it's actually done by a school. And I said, oh, I figured she'd say they were teaching them Java or something like that. Oh, no, we only do React.js.
Really?
That's all we do.
Because that's what they've landed on somehow? Just a little late on that one.
I was like, wow, that's a little, it's a little trendy, no? So that's the one.
Huh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of these things get really popular. I mean, Real Basic, anybody?
Oh, wow.
And get a lot of love, and then it turns out they were terrible.
Yeah.
I still think, and we are going to have that React episode one day where I bash the shit out of it. I still think it is not a good idea. But, some of this is marketing, some of this is fashion. And if Rutgers University is down, then, because the people making that choice were not super with it. It's, I don't want to say Swift, but Swift.
Huh.
Right? Sometimes you can't beat marketing.
Huh, yeah. That's true. Well, there you go. Thank you for sending those emails in, coderradio@jupiterbroadcasting.com, or the contact link, or the subreddit, coderradio.reddit.com.
And thank you for the pictures that came with them.
Oh, really? You got pictures? Anything you can say on air?
Well, they're all of you in the shower, so.
Holy crap. Okay, good. Now, I know that's not true because I barely took any showers on the road trip, so.
Oh, disgusting.
There you go, Mr. Dominic. Is there anywhere you'd like to send people throughout the week?
I'd like to send you to your local YMCA to take a shower.
Don't worry, I showered before the show. I had to come on and do it. I had to be clean for the show. We have links, of course, to the blog post that we were talking about in the show over at buccaneer.io. We've got links to also Get Mask if you'd like to purchase that. And you can follow Mike on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter and coderradio.reddit.com and jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar to watch the live show. Get it converted to your local time at the calendar page. And then jblive.tv is where you actually watch it. I think that just about covers it, Mike.
I think we're good.
All right. I'm a little rusty. I might have forgotten something, but I think I got it all. Oh, there is one more thing I have to do. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Coder Radio, and we'll see you right here next week. There we go.